The two died 15 times in one day because the bus they were riding was planted with bombs. The murderer was on the bus at this time, and they could only escape by stopping the explosion and rescuing all the passengers on the bus. But when the two of them wasted 3 cycles and controlled the most suspicious person on the bus, they discovered that the murderer was not him at all. But this unexpectedly saved his life. Xiao He-yun originally didn't want to explain this, because it was impossible for anyone to believe such a fantasy. Unexpectedly, after listening to this, the man in black not only did not have any doubts about the cycle, he even looked forward to whether he would enter the cycle. It turns out that the man in black is an otaku with a second dimension. He believes that he is the savior chosen by the light. Now that the man in black has believed them, Li Shiqing said that if he can really enter the loop, there will be one more helper. So, they quickly got into sorting out the suspects. Now based on the elimination method, it can be inferred that the man with the sack of things, the bald man dragging the suitcase, and the lady with the red plastic bag sitting at her feet are the most suspicious. But before they could finish their work, the man in black's mother asked him to go home for dinner. But just when they were saying goodbye, the man in black said that even if he didn't enter the cycle, he could still help them. His name was Lu Di. As long as they called out his secret nickname, when they needed him, he would help them. He would trust the two of them unconditionally. So he told them his secret nickname. Although Lu Di is a bit Xiao Nibu, at least someone really chose to believe Li Shiqing, which made them feel happy. Immediately afterwards, the two of them came to the internet cafe to investigate information. Time was urgent at this time, and they had to collect some useful information quickly. On the other side, as soon as Lu Di got home, he wrote down today's dreamy experience in his diary. Because he didn't know whether he had entered the cycle, he wrote a suicide note and left it to his parents just in case. At the same time, the police were not idle. Based on the surveillance video, they quickly identified the 3 people who behaved abnormally, so they quickly called Lu Di to the police station. In order to prevent the police from suspecting the two of them, Lu Di quickly provided cover for them. Soon, the two of them also received a call from the police. Xiao He-yun originally did not want to be questioned, but at this time, Li Shiqing said that because the investigation efficiency of the two was always not as good as that of the police, they might be able to use their tricks to inquire about some passenger information. So, they came to the police station. Later, they deliberately led Captain Zhang to focus on investigating the old man, who was suspected of carrying the sack. Li Shiqing also found clues here, and overheard the family members of the old man with the sack saying that he had a criminal record, and the relationship between him and his family was not very good, which shocked her and made her even more convinced that the old man was a sack. On the other side, the man in black could have left after being investigated, but unexpectedly, his mother chased him to the police station. It turned out that she had discovered the suicide note left in the room by her son, saying that he was going to save the world. As soon as these words came out, Captain Zhang instantly became serious. But the 3 people who should have been cleared of suspicion were once again labeled as suspects because of this incident. As expected, the two of them were taken to the interrogation room again. It was obvious that there were loopholes in their testimony. Faced with the same questions from the police, Li Shiqing could only respond perfunctorily. Only Lu Di has great expectations for this matter, because he firmly believes that he can definitely enter the loop and save the world. Seeing that it was almost 12 o'clock, he asked the police to synchronize the obtained information to him, and this is exactly what happened. Sure enough, after 12 o'clock, they came to the 16th cycle. Li Shiqing synchronized the clues she found at the police station to Xiao He-yun. So, Xiao He-yun quietly came to the old man's side and pretended to check the platform. He found that his bag was bulging and looked like a bomb. At this time, Lu Di happened to get on the bus, so Li Shiqing excitedly stepped forward to greet him. Unfortunately, Lu Di had completely forgotten the two of them at this time, and he did not become the one chosen by the light. Xiao He-yun said that there was no need to call him with a secret code, because he had already thought of a countermeasure, and they took action immediately. The two of them once again used the drama of a couple quarreling, and then Xiao He-yun deliberately approached the old man and gave the sack a direct kick. Then he added another kick while he wasn't paying attention, but found that there was just a pile of watermelon inside. The old man was very angry and stepped forward and knocked Xiao He-yun to the ground. At the same time, The internet celebrity also started to dissuade him. The old man who had been rehabilitated from prison hurriedly squatted on the ground and apologized, saying that his sack was actually full of watermelons because he saw his son saying he wanted to eat watermelons on Weshit Moments. So he brought the watermelons he grew to his son. It turned out to be just a misunderstanding. Upon seeing this, Li Shiqing quickly stepped forward to express her apology, and comforted the old man by saying that, in fact, his son loved him very much. The old man was very pleased, and then shared the watermelon with everyone. And because of this death bus also staged a heartwarming scene. At this time, the time also came to 1:43. Although it could not save everyone's lives this time, it could save the old man's soul. As the explosion ended, the 17th cycle soon began. This time there were only 2 suspects left, but they were surprised to find that the remaining 2 were actually on the same platform. As the bus exploded again, the 2 came to a new cycle. This time they finally realized that the seemingly harmless man and woman actually hid a murderous bomber between them. Thinking of the previous impressions of the 2 of them, no matter how chaotic the bus was, they always looked like it had nothing to do with them, and everything could be explained. But looking at the man's airtight suitcase, Li Shiqing felt that it would be more convenient to first investigate the woman's plastic bag. Afterwards, Li Shiqing carefully came to the woman's side, pretended that she was having her period, and asked her to borrow sanitary napkins. But facing the little girl, who came to ask for help, the woman just replied coldly, "No." Seeing that this method didn't work at all, Li Shiqing shamelessly stepped forward and opened the red plastic bag. But inside there was just an ordinary pressure cooker, and the woman immediately tightened the mouth of the bag vigilantly. Li Shiqing felt that this woman was too suspicious, because usually when people go out to bring food, they usually pack it in thermos boxes, and she was so near away from the pot at the time, but she didn't smell the aroma of meat at all. Instead, it was something that she couldn't describe smell. The more they thought about it, the more confused they became, so they temporarily decided to change the target to the man's suitcase. They planned to throw his suitcase out of the bus door when the next stop opened, and even if they don't succeed, they can block the 2 people outside the bus door in advance in the next cycle to prevent the bomb from getting on the bus. Then they started planning their action, but at this moment, the man behind him suddenly grabbed Li Shiqing, which startled the 2 of them. Immediately afterwards, he actually opened the suitcase in front of them, and inside it contained the child's certificate and some personal clothes. The man was rummaging around for something, and he quickly took out a plastic bag and handed it to Li Shiqing. It turns out that the conversation between Li Shiqing and the woman just now was seen by the men, so he kindly took out the sanitary napkin and gave it to Li Shiqing. By this time the situation was clear. Unexpectedly, the woman with the pot was the murderer. Therefore, in order to prevent the explosion as soon as possible, Xiao Hiyun quickly pushed Li Shiqing out of the bus door, then turned around and rushed towards the woman's plastic bag. But she was extremely alert, and clamped her legs tightly around the pressure cooker. At this time, the woman finally revealed her purpose, and as the 2 looked at each other affectionately, the woman directly pulled up the pressure valve on the pressure cooker. The explosion happened again. Although this operation failed again, it is already known that, at this time, an accident happened. The cycle time was originally advanced by 1 minute each time, but it was not advanced this time. When Li Shiqing woke up, the woman had already gotten on the bus. At this time, there was also an abnormality on Xiao Hiyun's side. It may be because he was too close to the source of the explosion. Xiao Hiyun did not wake up immediately after this cycle, and he was lost and struggling as if he was trapped in a nightmare. Fortunately, under Li Shiqing's constant calling, Xiao Hiyun finally woke up without any danger. Later, Li Shiqing told Xiao Hiyun that the time had not been advanced. Since the cycle time stopped advancing before the bomb got on the bus, that means that this cycle is very likely to be the last chance for 2 people, including all passengers on the bus, to survive. At this time, the 2 of them were obviously shaken, but after thinking again and again, Li Shiqing decided to try again, because she still couldn't bear to abandon the lives of all the bus passengers to fulfill herself. But unexpectedly, this decision would cause the 2 of them to fall into an abyss of nightmare that was even more terrifying than the dozen times they had been killed before. Then the 2 began to take action. First, Li Shiqing asked the driver not to close the door yet, and lied that he had lost something on the bus, and wanted to look for it. Then Xiao He-yun knelt down and started looking for it. Then when the woman wasn't paying attention, he grabbed the plastic bag under her seat. Upon seeing this, Li Shiqing also rushed forward to help. Although she succeeded in getting the pressure cooker this time, she never thought that the woman had gone crazy at this time. She took out a sharp knife from her pocket and stabbed the defenseless Xiao He-yun. Immediately afterwards, she was already mad with murder and grabbed Li Shiqing, who was about to get off the bus, and killed her without hesitation. The instigator of the explosion finally surfaced. No one expected that this seemingly weak woman would actually raise a dagger and kill two strangers who had no grievances. And this bloody scene has inevitably become a childhood shadow for countless adults. As another wave of explosions ended, time began to flow backwards again, and the bus returned to the starting point. It seems that the last cycle was not the last chance to prevent the explosion. Soon, the two of them woke up from the nightmare of the previous cycle, but when she recalled the woman's terrifying face, she couldn't help but make Li Shiqing clutch her neck tightly, throw herself into Xiao He-yun's arms and burst into tears. Xiao He-yun felt very distressed about this, but the two still entered the loop. This inevitably made Li Shiqing feel compassionate again, but at this time, Xiao He-yun decided to take her off the bus at the next stop so that Li Shiqing would no longer be hurt. But when the two approached the bus door, Li Shiqing still hesitated. Ready to try again, she immediately broke away from Xiao He-yun's hand, turned back and slammed the woman's head against the seat, and then grabbed the pressure cooker below. At this time the woman took out the dagger again. At the critical moment, Xiao He-yun appeared in time, blocked the fatal blow, and then dealt with the woman again. This time, he was obviously much braver than before. In order to prevent his beloved from being harmed, he actually exploded with great strength, directly pressed the woman on the seat, and successfully killed her. He becomes the hero who stops the explosion, but everyone on the bus was stunned, because in their eyes, they did not think that Xiao He-yun did this to save themselves. Instead, they thought that he was a murderer, and they all backed away in fear. At this time, Xiao He-yun's outlook on life was completely shattered, so he didn't care about anything. Directly took Li Shiqing's hand and left the scene. Even if there was another explosion behind him, he was unmoved. The two of them walked to an old-fashioned residential area. Recalling that he had accidentally killed someone just now, Xiao He-yun became nauseated and vomited. Upon seeing this, Li Shiqing quickly stepped forward to comfort him, but at this point, it was too late to say anything. The memory of this killing will not be erased in the next cycle, and they don't know if there will be a next cycle. Xiao He-yun excitedly asked Li Shiqing to leave quickly, as he did not want her to be implicated. But after experiencing so many cycles of life and death, the two of them have already established emotions beyond friendship. How could they simply cut off the bond with each other like this? So, after calming down, in order to escape the police's pursuit, the two came to an animation city, which happened to be the location of the secret base of the Man in Black. The first thing they had to do was to bandage the wound on Xiao He-yun's arm, but there was no such medicine in the Man in Black's house. There was no way. Li Shiqing could only go downstairs to buy it, but at this time, there was surveillance everywhere outside. Xiao He-yun was worried that the matter would encounter the police, so he hurriedly stopped her. Just when they were at a loss, Li Shiqing noticed the cost suit next to her, and then transformed into Dora. Although he successfully bought the medicine, on the way back, Li Shiqing still met Captain Zhang, who had chased them to the animation city. Realizing that this was not a good place to stay for long, they moved again. The two came to a riverside, and the sky was already darkening. Because he could never get over the hurdle in his heart, Xiao He-yun decided to surrender to the police station after careful consideration, but only after Li Shiqing fell asleep. At this time, the two people who were loving each other had too much reluctance in their hearts. They don't know since when these young people trapped in a cycle have had feelings for each other. But if there is really no next cycle, this must be the last time the two of them spend time together alone. At this time, Li Shiqing suddenly took off her shoes and slowly walked into the river. She wanted to use the cold river water to keep herself awake, but seeing her staggering, Xiao He-yun still felt distressed and stepped forward to support Li Shiqing. At this moment, the two finally couldn't restrain their inner emotions and hugged each other tightly. Later, after Li Shiqing fell asleep, Xiao He-yun carried her to the surveillance screen, because he knew that surrendering himself would be the best outcome in this cycle.